My name is Gloria Bennett, and I am 70 years old. I live alone in Austin, Texas, after my husband passed away 10 years ago. Life had settled into a quiet routine. I had my small apartment, my garden, and a modest pension of $8,000 a month. I never imagined that at this stage in life, I would face betrayal from someone I trusted the most. My son Brandon and his wife Vanessa were supposed to be my family, the people I could rely on. For years, I had looked forward to Sunday lunches with them, watching my daughter Emily laugh and play with her nieces and nephews, sharing stories of our past. I had always prided myself on being independent, but Vanessa's presence slowly began to cast a shadow over my life. It started subtly. She offered to help me manage my bills, and I, trusting her, allowed her access to my finances. I thought it was a kind gesture from a loving daughter-in-law. I never suspected that this so-called help would turn into manipulation and control. That's when the nightmare began. The slow realization that my pension, the money I had worked for all my life, was no longer mine. I would go to the grocery store and find myself unable to buy enough food. I would open my fridge to see it nearly empty. My hands would shake as I counted the few dollars I had left in my wallet. It was during one of these quiet, lonely mornings that I first noticed the numbers didn't add up. Something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to believe it. I wanted to trust my family, and I wanted to believe that Vanessa was looking out for me. But deep down, a small voice whispered that something wasn't right. That voice, that uneasy feeling, would soon guide me toward the truth. Brandon, my eldest son, was 36, married to Vanessa for 10 years, and had always been protective of me, or so I thought. My daughter, Emily, 34, had always been my confidant. The three of us had a close-knit bond, filled with laughter and shared memories. Our Sundays were sacred. Brandon, Vanessa, and Emily would come over for lunch, and I would cook whatever I could to bring the family together. There was always joy in my heart when I heard the doorbell and saw them walking up the steps, carrying desserts or flowers. But over time, subtle changes began to emerge. Vanessa started making decisions without consulting me, offering advice that seemed more like commands than suggestions. She insisted on managing my bills, paying my utilities, and handling my finances. At first, I thought it was her way of helping. I even felt relieved. I was getting older, my memory wasn't as sharp, and handling finances sometimes felt overwhelming. I told myself, it's okay, Vanessa can help. Yet, as weeks turned into months, I began noticing little things. A utility bill left unpaid, food running out too quickly, my own wallet suspiciously light. Vanessa always smiled when I questioned her, saying, "Don't worry, Mum. I have it all under control." I tried to push away my doubts, telling myself I was being paranoid. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I felt a knot in my stomach every time I handed her another check or let her log into my accounts. The warmth of family seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet tension that made Sundays feel heavy and uncomfortable. What I didn't know then was that this tension would soon erupt into a crisis that would test every ounce of my courage. The first real sign of trouble came on a cold Thursday morning. I had gone to the grocery store with only $30 in my wallet, planning to buy a week's worth of food. I stood in the produce aisle, staring at the fresh vegetables, and realized I couldn't afford everything I needed. My hands trembled slightly, and a pit formed in my stomach. Something didn't feel right. That was when I remembered that Vanessa was supposed to manage my finances. "It's okay, Mum. I'll cover it," she had said earlier. But now I wondered why she hadn't. I went home, thinking I might have misplaced a check or miscalculated my expenses. Sitting at my kitchen table, I opened my checkbook and stared at the numbers. My heart sank. Several checks had been cashed that I didn't remember writing, and multiple withdrawals had been made from my pension account. Confusion turned into dread. I wanted to confront Vanessa, But I hesitated. She had always been so charming, so convincing. I told myself, maybe it's a bank error, maybe it's nothing. But the growing emptiness in my fridge and the unpaid bills gnawed at me. The trust I had placed in Vanessa felt like it was slipping through my fingers. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction, every word she had said. The thought of losing my hard-earned pension to someone I trusted most made my chest tighten. I realized that I couldn't ignore the problem anymore. Something had to be done, and I needed help. In the weeks that followed, my unease grew into a persistent worry. I began noticing little inconsistencies. My electricity bill hadn't been paid on time, my phone service was briefly disconnected, and I had to ration the few groceries I could afford. My wallet was mysteriously lighter, and small sums of money were missing. Each time I brought it up with Vanessa, she would give me a warm, reassuring smile and say, "Mum, I'm taking care of everything. Relax." But the unease wouldn't leave me. I started keeping notes, jotting down every transaction I could remember, every check I had written. I even tried logging into my bank account online, but Vanessa had changed the passwords, claiming it was for my own security. The more I tried to assert myself, the more I realized how much control she had over my life. I felt trapped, powerless, and deeply betrayed. There were moments when I doubted myself. Was I imagining things? Was my mind playing tricks on me because of age? But every unpaid bill, every empty fridge, every unexplained withdrawal confirmed my worst fears. Vanessa's control over my pension had grown silently and insidiously. I was living under the same roof, yet I had lost autonomy over my own life. The tension in the house became unbearable, and I felt an emptiness that went beyond hunger. It was the loneliness of betrayal, the sting of realizing that the person I trusted most could deceive me so completely. One afternoon, my daughter Emily came over for her weekly visit. She noticed the unease etched into my face immediately. Without a word, she took a seat beside me and gently asked, "Mum, have you checked your bank account online recently?" Her voice was calm but insistent, carrying a hint of urgency. I hesitated, feeling both embarrassed and scared. I didn't want to admit that I had lost control over my own finances, but Emily's presence gave me courage. With trembling hands, I agreed to log in on her laptop. The numbers on the screen confirmed what I had feared all along. Multiple transfers had been made from my pension to Vanessa's account. My chest tightened, and tears welled up in my eyes. I felt anger, fear, and disbelief all at once. Emily held my hand firmly and said, "Mum, we're going to fix this. We will get your money back, and we will make sure this never happens again." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. The person who had betrayed me was not going to win. With Emily by my side, I knew I could confront the nightmare I had been living. That day marked the beginning of a fight for my dignity, my pension, and my peace of mind. The moment I had feared finally arrived. Emily and I sat together in my small living room, the afternoon sun filtering through the blinds, creating long stripes of light across the carpet. I handed Emily my checkbook and bank statements, my hands trembling. "I think something's really wrong, Mom," she said gently. Her eyes scanned the numbers carefully. As she cross-referenced my account history, her expression changed from curiosity to shock. Multiple transfers, hundreds of dollars each, had been sent to Vanessa's personal account over the past several months. My heart sank. I felt as if the ground beneath me had given way. I had trusted Vanessa with my life, my money, everything, and she had betrayed me in the most insidious way possible. I could feel my chest tighten, a mix of fear, anger, and disbelief washing over me in waves. Emily held my hand, her fingers steady and warm, and said, "Mom, we have to act. But first, breathe. You're not alone." The room felt suffocating. Memories of past Sundays, of shared laughter, of family dinners. All of it now seemed tainted. I couldn't believe that while I was struggling to buy food and pay bills, Vanessa was siphoning off the money I had earned through decades of hard work. My eyes blurred with tears as I whispered, I trusted her. I trusted her completely. Emily squeezed my hand tighter, her voice calm but firm. We'll fix this. We'll get your money back, and we'll make sure this doesn't happen again. That moment was pivotal. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was undeniable. But alongside the heartbreak came a spark of determination. I realized that I could not let fear or shame hold me back. I had to confront the truth and reclaim what was rightfully mine. That day marked the beginning of a battle that would test both my courage and resilience. Armed with undeniable evidence, I knew I had to confront Vanessa. It wasn't easy. My heart pounded as I walked over to her house, clutching the printed bank statements like a shield. Vanessa greeted me with her usual smile, but this time, it didn't deceive me. Vanessa, I said, my voice quivering but steady, we need to talk about my pension. Her smile faltered slightly, but she quickly recovered. Gloria, relax. Everything's fine. You don't need to worry about money. I took a deep breath, refusing to back down. No, Vanessa. I checked my account with Emily. There are transfers to your account that you didn't have permission to make. I trusted you, and you betrayed me. For a moment, there was silence. Her expression shifted, defensive, then angry. You're too old to handle money, Gloria, she said, her tone condescending. That's why I've been taking care of it. I felt a surge of rage mixed with sadness. This was the woman I had welcomed into my family, someone I had treated with kindness, trying to build trust. And yet, here she was, justifying theft as help. I stood my ground, voice firmer now. Taking care of it does not mean stealing. I will not let this continue. Vanessa's face twisted with annoyance, but I noticed a flicker of unease in her eyes. Finally, my determination was making her uncomfortable. That confrontation, though tense and emotional, was the first step toward reclaiming my life and my independence. I realized that no amount of fear or shame could hold me back if I wanted justice. The next day, Emily and I met with a local attorney who specialized in elder financial abuse. The office smelled of old books and polished wood, and the sight of certificates on the wall reminded me that we were now taking the right steps. The lawyer listened carefully as we explained the situation, flipping through the evidence we had gathered. This is a serious case, he said, his tone measured but supportive. You have every right to reclaim your funds and protect yourself. We'll need to freeze access, report the transfers, and document everything meticulously. I felt a wave of relief. Finally, there was a plan, a way to fight back. Emily stayed close to me, her presence a comforting anchor in the storm of emotions. The lawyer helped us organize bank statements, receipts, and notes about every unusual financial activity. It was exhausting work, both mentally and emotionally, but necessary. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of control returning. I knew the road ahead would be difficult. Vanessa would likely resist. And there would be family tension. But with Emily by my side and legal guidance, I felt ready to face the challenge. That evening, I reflected on how vulnerable I had been, how easily trust can be exploited, and how crucial it is to stay vigilant, even with loved ones. The emotional weight of betrayal was crushing. Nights were sleepless, and tears came without warning. I felt anger, sadness, and humiliation intertwined like a heavy chain around my chest. I couldn't understand how someone I had welcomed into my family could exploit me so completely. My trust, carefully built over decades, had been shattered. I missed the comfort of simple Sunday lunches, the warmth of laughter in my home, and the ease of family bonds that now felt strained and broken. Brandon, my son, initially defended Vanessa, adding to my feelings of isolation and despair. I felt abandoned, and powerless. Every time I walked past the fridge or looked at the empty cabinets, a pang of betrayal reminded me of my vulnerability. Emily's presence, however, was my lifeline. She listened to my fears, held my hand, and reminded me that I wasn't alone. "Mum," she said softly, "this isn't your fault. You've been patient and trusting, and that's a strength. Now it's time to be strong in another way." Her words became my anchor. I realized that emotional resilience would be as important as legal action. I needed to navigate grief, anger, and fear without letting them paralyze me. That period was incredibly painful, but it was also transformative. I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, but acting despite it. During this time, my longtime friend, Margaret, became my pillar of support. She had been through her own share of family betrayals and understood the weight of my situation. Margaret visited me frequently, bringing comfort, advice, and a listening ear. "Gloria," she said one afternoon, sitting across from me with a cup of tea, "you are not alone. You worked hard for your life and your money. No one has the right to take that from you." Her words resonated deeply. Margaret guided me through emotional coping strategies, suggested practical steps to strengthen security on my accounts, and reminded me to document everything meticulously. Her presence eased my anxiety and gave me courage to face the upcoming confrontation with both Vanessa and Brandon. I began to see that support doesn't always come from family. It can come from trusted friends who genuinely care. That realization empowered me. With Emily and Margaret standing by my side, I felt ready to reclaim control, confront betrayal, and take the necessary actions to protect my life, my dignity, and my finances. With Emily and Margaret by my side, we took the next crucial step, reporting Vanessa to the bank and the authorities. The anxiety in my chest was almost unbearable as we walked into the local branch, carrying stacks of documents, statements, and printed records of unauthorized transfers. A bank officer greeted us and listened carefully as we explained the situation. I could feel my hands shaking as I handed over the evidence, but Emily gave me a reassuring squeeze. "Mom, you're doing the right thing," she whispered. The bank immediately froze Vanessa's access to my accounts and initiated the process to recover my pension. It felt surreal, seeing a tangible response to months of silent suffering. Shortly after, we filed a formal complaint with the local authorities specializing in elder financial abuse. The process involved recounting every incident, every transfer, and providing witness statements where possible. Emily and Margaret stood beside me through every step, holding my hand and offering words of encouragement. I noticed a shift in my own mindset. Fear was giving way to determination. I realized that by acting decisively, I could reclaim not only my money, but also my dignity. That day marked a turning point, the moment when I stopped being a victim and started being a fighter. The weight of betrayal was still heavy, but finally, action was being taken, and justice seemed within reach. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. The confrontation and reporting of Vanessa to authorities created immediate tension within the family. Brandon was stunned and conflicted. He had always trusted his wife, and now the truth was undeniable. He struggled to reconcile the woman he loved with the actions she had taken against his own mother. I could see the pain in his eyes, but I refused to let it deter me from seeking justice. Vanessa, on the other hand, was defiant. She refused to apologize, insisting she had been helping me all along. Her manipulation and arrogance were infuriating, but I no longer feared her. Emily stood firmly by my side, offering both emotional and practical support. Through this family crisis, I realized who truly cared for me. Some relationships shifted irrevocably. Bonds that I thought were unbreakable showed cracks, while others, like my connection with Emily, grew stronger. The betrayal forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about trust, loyalty, and the limits of forgiveness. I learned that sometimes standing up for yourself may temporarily strain family relationships, but protecting your well being is paramount. The fallout was painful, but necessary. It exposed hidden dynamics and allowed me to reclaim authority over my life and finances, and it reinforced the importance of surrounding myself with allies who genuinely cared. Weeks passed, and slowly, the legal and banking processes began to yield results. My pension was fully restored, the unauthorized transfers reversed, and Vanessa faced legal consequences for her actions. The relief that washed over me was immense. I could finally breathe freely without fear of my hard-earned money disappearing again. I regained control over my finances, my home, and my life. The experience left scars, both emotional and relational, but it also brought clarity and empowerment. I felt stronger, more vigilant, and more determined to safeguard my independence. My relationship with Emily deepened as we navigated the ordeal together, and I finally understood the true meaning of family support. Brandon, though initially defensive of his wife, eventually recognized the severity of her betrayal. While some aspects of our family dynamic had changed permanently, I no longer felt powerless. The nightmare had ended, but the lessons remained etched in my heart. I had faced deceit from someone close to me and emerged not only intact, but wiser and more self-assured. For the first time in months, I felt a profound sense of peace and closure. Reflecting on the entire ordeal, I realized that trust is a precious gift that must be balanced with vigilance. Age should never be an excuse to relinquish control over your finances or personal autonomy. My experience taught me the importance of monitoring accounts, questioning inconsistencies, and listening to one's instincts, even when it involves family. I learned that betrayal can come from the most unexpected sources, but courage, support, and decisive action can restore balance and dignity. Emotional resilience is as critical as legal action. Facing the truth requires confronting fear, anger, and sorrow while maintaining clarity and purpose. I also understood that true family support isn't measured by proximity or tradition, but by presence, loyalty, and action when you need it most. By standing up for myself, I reclaimed my independence and demonstrated that even in old age, one can fight injustice and regain control. The ordeal strengthened my bonds with Emily and Margaret, proving that love and support can overcome even the most painful betrayal. I carry this lesson with me. Always trust your instincts, protect what is yours, and never let fear or shame silence you. Life's trials are harsh, but they can teach us the strength we never knew we had. Now, looking back, I realize that what happened was painful, but necessary. It forced me to reclaim control over my life, my money, and my dignity. I am Gloria Bennett, 70, a widow living in Austin, Texas, who faced betrayal from someone I trusted most. Through courage, vigilance, and unwavering support from my daughter Emily and friend Margaret, I recovered my pension and restored my independence. My story is a reminder to everyone, especially elders, to monitor finances carefully, trust instincts, and take action when something feels wrong. Life can test us in unimaginable ways, but strength, resilience, and support make all the difference. If my story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories of struggle, betrayal, and triumph. Sharing this story might help someone else recognize danger and protect themselves. Remember, it's never too late to stand up for yourself and reclaim what is rightfully yours.